Hey, what's up everyone? It's Rinku and welcome to my pre-awakened Dark Knight guide. So this is much more than just a video guide. This is actually the first time I decided to go full out and just create an entire Google Doc describing everything that you guys should know about Dark Knight. So what the plan is this video should be everything that you should need to know about the pre-awakened Dark Knight, both PvE aspects, some PvP skills that you can use to defend yourself, and how to prepare for awakening and PvP after awakening. Or just PvE, you know, if you just don't want to kill people. But there are definitely some skills that will help you get away, even if you don't want to PvP, so we'll take that into consideration. So, also I just want to mention, I have my own Discord, of course, but there's another Discord in particular for specifically Dark Knights that has played a huge role on a lot of people in this game. So basically, it's just a place where all the Dark Knights, or everyone wanting to learn about Dark Knights, go and just discuss, and they seem really interested in helping other Dark Knights discover like what's the best things to do, and it's basically how I learned everything I know about Dark Knight other than the stuff I've learned from just literally playing her. So I should just mention that Dark Knight does have increased accuracy, so she does get to go places a lot earlier than other people. So let's get right into it. The first thing that we should go over in this Dark Knight guide is how to gear a Dark Knight. So this can be debated, but there's some general knowledge that's been going around between the Dark Knights, and I've done my research a little bit, and I can definitely agree with a lot of the points based on what I know so far in playing this game. So I'm not an expert at all, and you can definitely build your character however you want. This game is like, if you go into every single aspect, you can build it a lot of different ways. But the general consensus for how to build a Dark Knight. Really quickly, I should say, boss gear, plain out and simple, beats everything. There's no like multiple pieces of boss gear besides the offhands currently, and the new boss helmet is supposedly only better if you're killing the new stuff, so you should probably just have both helmets anyways. And in my opinion, you should have both offhands, but we'll talk about that in a second. So yeah, most of this guide stuff for gear is before boss gear, how you should upgrade from previous green gear to boss gear, and all the methods in between and how it will impact you. What is hot is heave. So heave at 3 out of 4 gives 300 HP, and even if you break any of the pieces, you still have 250 HP. And the chest piece, the roaring magical chest piece, is arguably very, very competitive against boss gear, with the downside that once boss gear gets tri or higher, it's pretty much a lot. I mean, you can't upgrade the magical roaring chest piece, but the DP and the accuracy is significant. Like, the accuracy alone makes up for the DP on my tri chest. The only reason I have a red nose is just to have a piece of boss gear for hopefully in future the boss set effect. But heave should be the go-to if you don't already have Grunno. So I don't think you should drop Grunno or any other armor set if it's already like pre-duo tri. But if you're starting from new, you should probably start from heave for the bonus HP. Like, bonus HP is extremely, extremely important. PvE, I mean, I think it's important just to stay alive. PvP is extremely important, obviously, for the same reason. So that is why I would go. So for weapons, I actually went on the completely wrong route the first week, but I'm slowly correcting myself. So I actually went the route of Yuria and Oros, which are the second and third best choices. So basically, Yuria used to be the go-to PvP choice and all-around best choice when the game first came out, but then when Media came out, we advanced to Kreia, and now we have, with Valencia, Rosar. So Rosar has decent stats, actually significantly better than Yuria or Kreia. So also, Kreia and Rosar have 2 slots, whereas Yuria has 1, so definitely don't stick with Yuria. But you should definitely try to upgrade to Laverto as soon as possible. Laverto is definitely the very first upgrade you should get out of every single boss gear possible. Mainly because the stats will really help you when you're building crystals, and I will get into that in the crystal section. So that is the main weapon, and for the offhand weapon, I built Oros thinking that AP was the way to go. However, as always, like, I figured that Sayer would be better because that's what all the Berserkers wanted, but I didn't really know why. But basically, it has clearly more DP, clearly more accuracy. Like, I don't even know if Oros has any accuracy at all. They both have evasion, because like evasion is really good, but they literally both have it. So I would say Sayer is the way to go before boss, because the clear stats make up for the AP that it doesn't have. The small amount of AP that Oros has really does not matter in the end. And Neuver has so much more AP. 15.5 more on average. That is an insane amount. As well as Cudham having almost as much AP as I have now, plus all the DP, plus the accuracy, plus the ignore all resistances. So yeah, I should have went with Sayer, but I'm stuck with Oros, and I'm fine with Oros for a little bit. If I still have Oros in like a month or two, I'll switch it. So I would definitely recommend Sayer, and then Cudham or Neuver. So that is the hot debate. A lot of people say Neuver, of course. A lot of people just want pure AP, but a lot of the Korean players are telling us that 230 AP, at that point, you no longer need Neuver, and Cudham, the stats and the accuracy and the resistance is a lot better because you already have so much AP. So a lot of us are not really at that point. Like, I'm below average, like I'm below 200. I'm not even close to 230, but if you were at 230, people think that Cudham is the way to go. And if not, if you just need that AP, then definitely go Neuver. So that's what I do for the offhand. So we covered armor, we covered main hand, offhand. Now accessories, pretty much just AP, and normally I would say build AC because like a lot of people underestimate AC. I would definitely put evasion where you can, but we actually get so much accuracy from skills alone. Like literally every single thing is either one magic power or accuracy, magic power, accuracy, magic power, accuracy. Like it's a lot of accuracy and magic power at that point, but that's a lot of accuracy that you just don't need over other classes. So honestly, yeah, AP would really be the way to go, especially if you're below 230. I mean, you need to hit that point for Cudham to be the best, then Cudham would be the best in slot, and you'd be OP. Now, I'm not sure the specifics on, like, the 230 whatever. That's just a rough estimate that the Korean players are throwing around because they're experiencing the new content at that AP range. And I'd say we're probably going to have to agree with them, and they're probably just going to be telling the truth when it comes out for us. But things can always change. That's the armor. Now the first things to upgrade, like I said, Laverto or Zarka is the most important upgrade because of the set effect. I mean, not the set effect, but the item effect, and that will be explained in the magical crystal part. But it is the thing to do. Now, Begs is the most important for the PvP aspect of things. Begs is the most important, as well as Muskins being the second thing. If I had Muskins, it would give me a lot of evasion, which is really good. Biggs is for the accuracy. We already have a lot of accuracy, but it's still really good. Trust me, it's really, really, really good. A lot of accuracy there, but evasion, really good. If you had those two, and you have Laverto, you definitely want to prioritize offhand. Like I said, this Oros and even Sayer are not that good compared to Neuver or Cudham. I need an offhand ASAP. I want an offhand so bad, maybe even before Muskins. I want Neuver, to be honest. It'd be a huge upgrade. So those are the upgrades that I would do before anything else. And you can also, I got Red Nose when it was cheap, when they were 10 mil each in the marketplace. And they were actually just like a Laverto. They were affordable, whereas Tree Armor was not. But they're actually rising in price. I don't know if that's going to continue rising in price or not. It may or may not be worth getting Red Nose in the future. I don't know how I got to try, but I did. So it's staying there for a while, but obviously Tree Armor would be better. Tree Armor is a clear replacement to Red Nose. It literally has one stat more than this. That's the only difference, I believe. So that is how I would gear a Dark Knight. Lastly, I just wanted to mention about the accessories. But basically, you want to build AP, but you can definitely build AP for cheap. You can actually get 25 or higher AP from about 7 mil, just from buying things off the marketplace. You can also slowly upgrade that for about 100-200 mil and get that to about 50 AP just on your accessories. And obviously the end game would be trying to get 90 plus AP. That would be when you're getting close to 230 AP total. And you'd probably be building like ogre rings, basilisk belts, tundra earrings, or crescent rings. So that's pretty much how you would build accessories. Like I said, I'm going to be trying to figure out the exact specifics of what you should upgrade cost efficiency wise, but I'm building accuracy for no reason, and then I need to build, I'm going to transfer my accuracy set over to another character and build an AP set from scratch. So it's going to take me a while to build up, but hopefully eventually, maybe I can just start with the endgame stuff. Let's slowly buy ogre rings. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I will definitely try to communicate with other people and figure out the best method at upgrading your AP accessories. but I mean, it's been around for a year. There's a lot of other resources for doing that, so pretty standard stuff. Alright, so I decided to go on this rock because it was in the background and I wanted to stand on it, so we're over here. But we're going to go over magical crystals for your gear. So what crystals should you put in your armor? Now, please bear in mind that every single crystal, I believe every single crystal can break on death unless you're in a protected area. Like, for example, the GM boss event, I think may have been protected, maybe even not, I don't know. You may have even still lost crystals on death, I have no idea. But you can see I have crystals, I actually have all my crystals built out. So the one thing to keep in mind here is you want to max attack speed and critical hit chance. And also to keep in mind that there are more ways to do this than just crystals and just this method. You could actually build one or two of each of these stats from just food buffs alone. And I was literally about to look into like getting +2 accurate or critical hit on two different food stacks and getting attack speed at the same time. But there really aren't a lot of food buffs or critical hit, and the timers are like 75 minutes, 45. They're kind of weird. So honestly, I would recommend maxing them both on armor with gems, so you don't have to worry about food buffs. And also, I think from a lot of people, I was recommended food buffs that didn't have either of those stats at all. Mostly just increased AP, attack, just stuff. So yeah, another reason why I would just max it on gear, just to have it maxed at all times, and also so you could just use your experience food buff and have it maxed. So you're going to want to max attack speed before anything else, and critical hit chance if you want to. I decided to. I will be instructing you based on wanting to max them both. So for crystals, it's going to be kind of difficult. So for the helmet, you want evasion +5, the ancient magic crystal of enchantment, aka agility. Definitely get 2 of those. I happen to have the combat experience gain +10%. I think I got it from an event or a quest or something, and it was not tradable or anything, and I only have 1. But if you want to look up how to get it, you can Google it. Kydix Crystal Adventure. I would recommend, if you do get your hands on it, put it on a trusty helmet and do not die, or it's going to be gone most likely. It says it has a high chance. But for PvE or PvP or anything, get evasion. The only time you need the experience gain is if you're leveling. So, and also I would recommend not putting it on your boss gear. If I get a boss gear, I'm gonna have to keep this helmet on me if I level. So that's that for armor. If you want to spend all your money, so there's a lot of things that say black magic crystal. A lot of the crystals that I'm gonna say black magic crystal actually have cheaper versions, and a lot of the crystals that I'll talk about with certain stats, you can pay more money for, like PvP stats as well. So I should be showing you the highest level stat, but if you type in, like, for example, Valor, you'll see a bunch of crystals, the high end and low end ones for Valor, and the high end ones will have more stats. So you'll have to get the ones with attack speed and crit speed to meet the build requirement, but you don't have to spend extra money on, like, the grapple resistance. I'm just using Valor as an example because we'll go over some glove enchantments in a bit. But so Cobelius, max HP, weight limit, damage reduction. There's another one, the black magic crystal, or you can get special attack evasion. So there's a crystal called evasion for, not armor, I need crystal for armor, evasion. This one would be recommended. I'm not sure how many things are special attacks. Now I want to get some clarification on how useful this would be, because I'm weary about the special attack part of the special attack evasion plus 10%. If it was just clear 10% evasion, I would probably just put it on. But the fact that it's so damn cheap, I don't know. I don't know. But it is the thing to use. I don't think mine really has that much PvP aspect other than the HP. So I guess it would just be, or I guess the damage reduction, but 200 HP, 4 damage reduction versus 20% special attack evasion. I'm not really sure, but I'm sticking with this, and these ones cost a lot. But they also give me weight limit, which is nice, so for training. Shoes, obviously, like, I just build movement speed because these are cheap shoes. If you don't have anything else, I would definitely just have movement speed to walk faster. That almost maxes my movement speed. I just need 1 more movement speed and it would be maxed. But if you're building for PvP, the black magic crystal of Hysteria gives you movement speed and stamina. Let's see, shoes, Hysteria, and there's a cheap version, so movement speed +1, weight limit, but the expensive one movement speed plus 1 weight limit, and max stamina plus 150. So that's significant for PvP. You lose 2 movement speed, but you get the weight limit and the stamina, and the stamina could be good for PvP. So if I got boss gear, I would consider doing it, but I would be sad because of the movement speed. I don't know, like, I'm such a life skiller noob for the movement speed, but that's that. For the offhand, it's pretty clear for the offhands. There's not a lot of magical crystals for offhands at all, but we'll just go to secondary weapon, and it's the one that's always sold out. So there's 2 versions. There's the black spirit crystal, and there's the awakened spirit crystal. If you're going to spend mils and mils on a crystal, I would just spend the 21 mil. I was thinking about buying this just for my Oros, just cuz. But if you die and you lose it, I mean, that's kind of a sad event. It is 20 mil down the bag just for 5 AP, 150 HP, and it's 12 mil for 50 HP more. So there's that. There's 12 mil for 50 HP, but if you're going to use it for a very long time, you're confident you're not going to die, it's just more stats to add to your character. For pretty cheap overall if you consider how many mils you spend upgrading gear, like hundreds and hundreds. So those are the helmet, armor, boots, and offhand magic crystals. The next part, the main hand weapon, and the glove are the most important for actually maximizing the attack speed and critical speed. Alright, so to max your crystals, it also depends on what kind of gear you have, depends on what kind of stats you're getting. So if you have full green gear, you're actually going to have 0 and 0 if you don't have any gems and you just have full green gear. But if you upgrade to Laverto, you get 3 critical hit for free. If you upgrade to Zarka, instead of critical hit, you get attack speed. So depending on which one you have depends on which +3 you get, and critical is actually harder to get, surprisingly, even though Zarka is better. But that's arguably, I mean, it's arguable. I mean, maybe critical hit is, I don't know, attack speed is better for our class, but critical hit is kind of harder to get. Also, if you have full boss gear, you get 1 attack speed for free, as well as a casting speed, even though it doesn't matter. But 4-piece armor set for boss, you get 1 + 1 attack speed. All of these things will affect where your stats lie, +0 to 5. But basically, if you have absolutely full green armor, you would want a black magic crystal Valor, which gives 2 critical hit in gloves, a black magic crystal in Assault, which gives 2 attack speed, which I actually have right now, and in your main hand weapon, you would want 2 black magic crystal Karmes, which give 1 critical hit and 1 attack speed. And this would give you 4 out of 5 in both things. Now this is the only scenario out of all 4 of the scenarios I just listed where I can't figure out a way to get all 5 without using food buffs. However, I also listed the food buffs being special fish soup as well as the media meal. If you stacked both of those, you would have 5 in both. That is the only scenario, like I said, that I think you wouldn't have 5. I don't know if there's a way to get an extra critical and attack speed on other things. But yeah, as soon as you upgrade to Laverto, you can get +5 out of 5. So I won't be listing the Zarka and the boss mid because it would just take too long for the crystals. But since I already have the Laverto in the second set, plus with all 5, you can see what crystals I have right now. So instead of having the second glove, I actually have the best in the slot crystal, which is the attack speed and 2 accuracy, instead of 2 attack speed because I don't need the extra attack speed. And like preferably if we had max of both of these stats, this would be the go-to crystal because it has +2 accuracy. The weapons, I still have the same gems, and because of the critical and because of the lack of critical in my gloves, it makes up the difference, and I have +5 in everything. So I sacrificed 2 critical for an attack speed and accuracy, and I got 3 critical, and that fills up the gaps. So there's more methods, like if you had Zarka and if you had full boss gear, you could have different gems. And there's one, I finally found the purpose of the gems that reduce a stat, because there's a way to get like, if I can get 6 attack speed, and then I can get 5 critical by lowering my attack speed by 1, and that is one of the builds for Zarka. I just gave you 2 simple builds, whether you have Laverto or not, with no 4 out of 4 boss gear and no Zarka, and it works. You get 5 out of 5 with Laverto, and it's very nice. And Laverto has the same AP as Zarka at Try, which is funny. So it makes it easier to build for, and it's almost similar. But yes, Zarka would be a clear upgrade even in the crystal department, because you would get, there's trust me, you get better crystal setup with the Zarka. So with that, I'll go on to the next part. So now you guys can see where my keys are actually being pressed at what time and how I move around. So really quickly, this forward teleport is just forward shift, and it has no cooldown. You can use it as many times as you want, but it does cost mana. Your side dash, however, gives you back mana, whether it's 1 or 2 dashes. But the reason why you don't dash 2 times every single time is because it has a cooldown, and even the single dash has a cooldown, so you're not going to be using it at the same rate every single time, because you have to wait for the cooldown. So one other thing is for the evasion. If you do not want to barrel roll, which is basically how to get killed in PvP, is to barrel roll, definitely click the lock button on this command. Lock basically makes it so you can never use the command by accident, because a lot of these skills are learned automatically. I've locked every single skill that I'm not currently using, but that does not mean it's a bad skill. It's mainly just because I haven't chose to level it up, and I don't want to accidentally use it when I'm not meaning to, because I'm 100% not meaning to use anything that I've locked so far. But the only skill you should really lock is this specific one, because if you're side dashing and it's not locked, you'll barrel roll, and it not only is it extremely slow, but in PvP you could get killed. Now, it's not the end of the world. Some people prefer to barrel roll when they're not teleporting, or just barrel roll in general, so you don't have to do that, especially if you're not a PvPer. But I just wanted to get used to the movements, get used to not barrel rolling, and honestly I found it annoying and distracting when I did accidentally barrel roll in the middle of teleporting. So it's really up to you whether you want to disable it, but I would recommend it for a PvP setting. So with that out of the way, and also your forward F attack, which usually it's for combat purposes, you want to save that cooldown for combat, but those are the 3 methods, and I'll show you how to combine them. So the only cooldowns that we can actually visually see, I think, are the forward F, which is right here. It's got a 7-second cooldown, and I think that's the only cooldown, because I haven't figured out a way to figure out the sidestep cooldown. The forward one has a cooldown of 2 seconds, but you can use it every 2 seconds no matter what. The sidestep, the first one has a cooldown of 2 seconds, but the second one has a cooldown of 5 seconds. So you can see how that kind of gets confusing. My personal method of walking around is forward F, side, side, forward F, side, forward F, go into. Like, that covered a lot of distance. Honestly, I would recommend doing that. So you could also forward, side, side, forward, and then side again, and then forward. And I think there's a lot of other ways you could do this. So I want people to challenge me to see what your best method, like how far you could get with just skills would be. But let's start with this rock and do it one more time. So forward, side, side, forward, side, forward, F. And I was all the way at that rock. So that's just to get an idea. Basically for teleporting, I would always do one, or not forward, F, but 1 teleport forward, 2 side, 1 forward, and then if you try to do a side now, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So if you have a barrel roll and you try to do that, you would barrel roll. But since I have it turned off, it's actually possible for me to just wait until it activates. So right now I would barrel roll if I didn't have that activated, because the cooldown, I'm technically waiting a few milliseconds for that cooldown to be off. So, but with that locked, you can successfully just sidestep every single time, and every other time you should be able to sidestep twice, or every 3rd time with it locked, every other time if you were barrel rolling, because yeah, so hopefully that made sense. But you can just hold it side, you can just keep holding it to see if you're gonna sidestep a 2nd time or not. It's pretty easy to see if your character is going to or not and revert the camera, but to sidestep, you're just turning the camera 90 degrees and going over, like sideways. But that's me. That's the movement, and those are the most important skills. No, I'm just kidding. We still have a lot to go over, but honestly, those are the things that you should get first and learn how to utilize, and especially do the sidestep as often as possible for mana or EP. Plus 40 EP if maxed. Plus 60 EP for the first one. Yeah. Yada yada yada. Let's get into the killing stuff. One more thing is that you can also get skill add-ons for your skills. Now, I actually have not done this yet, but there are 2 generally recommended builds for both PvP and PvE that I found on the DK Discord that is now also in the Google Doc guide. But basically you can choose any skill, any of these skills, and add 2 effects, and they kind of depend on whether you want to do PvP or PvE, because there's some things that literally say plus PvP attack or plus damage on monsters. So the first one, airstrike, this is going to be the same for everyone, I guess. I guess the order might depending on what level you are, so definitely take a look at the pictures in the guides. But yeah, you can have all these stats, and I guess I'm gonna do the best PvP ones. So all attack speed and bleeding damage. This one is actually the same for both PvP and PvE. Boom, done. I can't believe I haven't done this yet. Next up, we're gonna do the PvP ones. So obviously the main one is Wheel of Fortune, and so for PvP we want PvP attack. So if you weren't gonna do PvP, you would want all critical hit rate plus 20% for 9 seconds. But the second one we're gonna do is attack speed for 7% for 5 seconds, and this is the same for both PvP and PvE. So we're gonna do this one because I'm probably gonna build for PvP, because I don't really need to build for PvE. I'm pretty confident in PvE already. And the last one we'll do is Unveiled Dagger, which again is the F ability. I really like it. So the first one is all critical hit rate, which this one is PvP only. So if you're gonna do PvE, you would actually do all attacks against monsters plus 20, which is probably very good, but again only for monsters, so not really useful for me. Also for PvE, you would also do 10 for defense plus 10 apparently, I guess, I don't know. But we're gonna stick to attack speed. Attack speed minus target, wait. Really? Is that yeah, I guess that's the PvP one. If it works for PvP, that's awesome. I was questioning if it worked in PvP, but I guess it has to if it's recommended for PvP. So yeah, and I would agree with all of those. I did look into the other options. PvE wise, there may be better options, I don't really know, but for PvP it does look pretty standardized as the best options. So those are what I would recommend to build. PvE wise, I would definitely recommend to build your own way. Just build whatever skills you use the most often. That should be how you build for PvE skill add-ons. And of course, I guess we'll have to look at the Awakened ones later. Alright, so to finish the video, we're just going to go quickly over all the skills and just a summary of the skills in general. So basically, only thing that you should ever lock, which is actually extremely important to lock, I think I already said, was evasion, just so you don't barrel roll. But basically everything else in the guide is good. So the first stats skills that you want to max, of course, sidestep, the dash forward, and the forward dash that actually attacks. And these will all give you like invincibility while moving. And this one gives you super armor or the forward one gives you super armor while going forward. And then invincibility and then super armor. It's just very good movement speed, and of course this one always gives you back mana, so you should be doing this as often as possible, or EP again, I always whatever. So this one gets automatically, a lot of these get automatically. This one says it enhances certain skills if you use it or whatever, but it's honestly useless, don't worry about it. This one you have to unlock, you do have to send points in as purely for PvP, so that's that. A lot of the skills that I have locked isn't locked because they're bad skills, but just because I don't level them, I haven't leveled them up, I don't use them, and I don't want to accidentally use them if I'm not trying to. That does not mean they're bad. The only one you should actually lock is this specific one. So this one is very good for getting back EP or MP in PvE, but other than that, it's not very useful. You're not going to need it after Awakening comes out. Not a lot of people use it. It's just purely if your PvE aspect, you have extra points and you literally do not want to use potions. If you don't want any MP potions, maybe you might have to use this, but there's better ways, such as sidestepping or shift Q, which we'll talk about all the way at the end, I guess. We're gonna just quickly jump through all of these though, just because, like I said, there's already a skill guide. This one is probably the worst skill in the game, maybe, I don't know, but it's there. Your your forward dash, your F button. Now this is the most interesting skill because it gives you, the first F gives you a buff for 5 seconds that gives you 10% attack speed. Now this could be the possible best skill and buff in the game. The second F, if you do F twice, does a lot of damage, and I think it stuns? Yep, it stuns. So F and double F, those will be used in combos, they'll be used a lot. Usually you'll probably do F and then a skill and then double F for the stun after and to keep the attack speed up throughout all of that. They're just really good skills, and I would actually max them as soon as possible, also because the double F does really good damage and it has a really quick cooldown of 3 seconds, so it's a good gap filler in between PvE. You'll probably learn throughout this guide that most of the skills that we max have cooldowns, and a lot of people ask what skills should you use for PvE specifically, because not a lot of these are recommended. Like this is not recommended, this is not recommended. Like a lot of the PvE skills are not recommended, but honestly I would not waste points, and I would just use F as a gap closer. As a gap filler. I would just use it in between attacks, get that attack speed up as often as possible, every 5 seconds if you can. You can put this cooldown down here for the second F that does a lot of damage. It does significantly more damage than almost any other PvE skill that I don't have maxed. And I tested these skills at max, like right mouse click, left and right mouse click, shift right mouse click. They're honestly not that great compared to the cooldowns plus F, so I would highly recommend getting this. So extremely useful in combos and PvP as well. It's specifically for PvP only. It's probably only used for the stiffness, but also ranged attack to just piss people off or poke them. And you can also do it while you're jumping, apparently. I didn't actually know that until just now when I looked at the skill a few seconds ago. So your forward F, obviously this is a movement skill. First attack you should actually max, extremely useful. This is another PvP only ability. It's a trap that you put on the ground, apparently, and I guess it just sits there until someone hits it. I don't know. I really don't know, but it's just there, and it's probably for PvP to like just put stuff around you just to waste time, rack up free damage. Back left click. This is good for getting monsters in the air. Not really sure if it's important, but there are some combos where you do this and then attacks, like down attacks or something. So it could be useful. Like I said, you don't have to lock it. I'm just doing that because I don't plan on intentionally using it, because I don't actually know combos for it yet. But like I said, it could be useful. Space, I don't have it maxed, but it's definitely useful in combos for sure. It's a down attack. It's pretty good. I would get it. I mean, it's already unlocked, so there you go. It may be like one of the first things I start maxing though after Awakening if I have extra points, because I probably will actually use this for sure. This one, I was told it was like an AoE basic skill, good for PvE AoE, but honestly I had it maxed. I really wanted to use it, but it didn't do hardly anything. It just did not do good damage. I'm sorry. I wanted to use it, but I couldn't. Same with this one. Shift right click. I saw another guide recommend this one for PvE and for killing stuff, but honestly I just cannot recommend it. When you use all my other skills like this, the damage from this doesn't compare at all. Like, it's really bad damage. You could just do F or something, or the next skill. So this is one of those. This is the only two in the skill build that's a preference, and I'm going to explain what the preference in these two skills are, this one and this one. So Enforcement, honestly, if you're going to max any skill that wasn't recommended for post-awakening, just for PvE aspects, just for another skill to use while these are on cooldown, I would recommend Enforcement. I did actually max this, and I think it's extremely useful, especially with the second hit. That also knocks them up into the air. I think it's a very good skill. I just did not want to put points into it. Like I said, I think I have the perfect build with this amount of points right now, but this would be the next thing I max. Most likely, I would, in my opinion, after this point with this perfect build, in my opinion, so far, I would max this, and then Ashes, and then the spacebar, and then go from there. But I'm probably just gonna take what I have now into Awakening and worry about that later. But I did try this at max, like I said, and I do think it is pretty good for PvE, for casual, tons of skill points players. Definitely try it out if you have extra points. So this is a PvP skill that you can teleport either behind an enemy or teleport behind, like, backwards with frontal guard already up, which then you could then use to retaliate, which I think is extremely cool and useful. So there's that, mainly for PvP, like I said, not so much PvE. And this one, in all situations, if you ever have 100% spirit energy, this is your ultimate, and it's extremely useful if you just have free black spirit energy laying around. So I would say this is probably the last skill you should get out of your, like, low level stuff when you hit like 50, 56. Maybe just round it off with this, but it's definitely something to get, and it's definitely strong when it needs to be, I should say. So there's that. So if you've made it this far, these are the main attacks in the whole skill build. So these are the things, once you have your 3 movement skills, so you have your side dash, your forward dash, and your forward dash attack. As soon as you have those 3, I wouldn't worry about anything else except your cooldowns. So your main cooldown is Wheel of Fortune. Yes, I know this is spin to win, it's a meme, everyone like jokes about it. It's not the thing to spam when you're in PvP, but it's probably our most effective, strongest attack, and it only has a 6-second cooldown. You're going to be using it a lot, so definitely max this as soon as possible, because I should have, just do it. And then also our shift left click is very, very useful. I would recommend charging it every single time, and it does comparable damage to Wheel of Fortune. They both do significant damage, tons of damage, and I would be using them every off cooldown in PvE just to rack up damage. Followed by that, you also want Corrupted Ground. This one does almost as much damage as these two, but also gives you tons of EP/MP and also HP. So I would use this off cooldown as well, and I would, for specifically getting back mana or EP, if you wouldn't want to call it that, I would use Sidestep as often as possible, and also Shift Q. Mainly because Shift Q does tons of damage too. It's just a really good damage and MP/EP stuff. So lastly, our last skill, Ashes, Obsidian Ashes. Should you use this? I think you should. Now, it's extremely useful for PvP. It's automatically unlocked at 1, and it binds an enemy if hit. So it is extremely useful. If someone's trying to run away, it's nice to just blow them up with this and then dash into them. Like, it's awesome. I just love it. I actually got my first PvP kill with it. It's really amazing. For PvE, it's not that great. I actually tried maxing it a while ago and to see if it did decent damage, and it did. It just did. Like, out of all the skills I have now, it's probably the least amount of damaging. It might be as good as some of the PvE skills that I don't have that I also think are garbage, but the one thing that does stand out for the skill is it's our 200%, which is interesting. I definitely need to try our 200%. Also, it has range. It's pretty decent range. It's AoE. It explodes, and it does okay damage, and it binds. So it is a very good skill, but it's just we don't know if you should max it. I plan on maxing it eventually, but like I said, I'm gonna max Enforcement, and then I'm gonna max Ashes maybe, and then Spacebar, because I don't know how much Spacebar upgrading will even do, seeing as I don't really use it yet because I haven't done combos. But yeah, that's all the skills. Hopefully I went over everything. Those were my experience with the skills leveling up in PvE and grinding aspects. But I also went over, like, I would definitely recommend just learning how to use Obsidian Ashes for PvP. Get the, like, teleport behind enemy just because it's cool, and PvP wise it would be very, very useful. And also, like, the stiffness, if you PvP, maybe just throw these all the time to get stiffness. And when I actually learn how to PvP and learn combos and learn how to just do stuff more effectively, I'll be making an update in part 2. But I think for now that finally covers everything that there is about Dark Knight. Hopefully you guys have learned something. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you want to help me create more content for Dark Knight, like, we could expand on this guide, make a part 2, make some combo videos, make an awakening preparation video, or awakening post awakening video. There's just tons of stuff we can expand on, but I think hopefully I raised the bar pretty high for Dark Knight guides, because a lot of the stuff I see hasn't really taken it to this level. Again, that's mainly why I do most of my videos, because, like, I wish other people made cool videos like this, but there are definitely other Dark Knight guides out there, and they did help me. Like, I didn't just create all this stuff by myself, but hopefully this puts all the stuff I've learned together in one place for other people to expand on. So let me know how I did, and I'll see you guys next time.